Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here, and welcome to another episode of Goombah Real Talk. This time, I have a guest with me.
Hello.
This is Aki, not to be confused with my wife Aki, but this is Akidearest. She does animated-related content, and she does a lot of analysis as well.
Yeah. I'm glad to be here.
Cool. Now, some of you may actually know her from her channel, which I will put links in the description and all that. I'll actually probably put an annotation as well. But anyway, Aki, Tell the good folks what you do.
Yeah, so as you basically said, I do a lot of anime analysis. I like focusing on a lot of the art form behind a lot of anime. And then there's also reviews that I do for Vocaloid songs, which I do for mostly like entertainment purposes to share that type of fandom. But I do a lot of like otaku related culture stuff as well.
Which is super cool. We actually, we have just gotten done recording something on her side that I'm a part of, and again, links in the description and annotations and cards and all that, because you don't want to miss that. But for me, I've been dabbling in a lot of anime content as of late. I mean, I talked about what it means to be otaku, hikikomori, talking about fan service, so I figured, let's talk about the one thing that both of us are called on a constant basis, but feel like we don't really deserve it. Weeaboo. So
I can already hear them cringing now.
Oh god. And you know the funny thing is too is that I've actually got a Miku Hatsune video idea that I want to put out there thanks to you.
Yeah.
And I can already hear the Weeaboo comments coming in. But anyway, let's kind of define what it is. So my definition is basically someone who wishes to abandon their cultural identity in favor of a Japanese identity, with tendencies including thinking that Japan is the best country in the world and massive great glorification. They learn all of their information and everything about Japanese culture from media, you know, the greatest source ever to find it. They have a huge disdain for any other culture, and they tend to think they know everything about Japan, having never been there, but just watched a lot of anime, read a lot of manga. So good stuff. So Aki, how about you? Like, what do you believe your definition is?
Yeah, well, it's essentially kind of like the same thing. Is that, well, first off, Weeaboo is thrown around to almost anyone who has any kind of interest whatsoever in not just anime, but just Japan in general. It's almost like it's a crime that we can't even try to learn the language, try to even share any interest in anime unless you were Japanese, which even then a lot of people still confuse it with talking about weeaboos because they'll still pertain it to Japanese people themselves. So
is there a story you want to share with that?
Oh yeah. I
Go
mean,
ahead.
I have this friend who's another YouTuber. You guys might know him. He's Joey the Anime Man, and he is half Japanese. He speaks Japanese. He's fluent in it, and he's very familiar with the culture. He's been there, and he's going to live there for quite some time. And constantly, we always like share with each other that even he is called a weeaboo, and it's as if no matter how many times we define it to the public, it's as if it'll never get through to them because it's still just stereotypically given as anyone that shows or expresses any kind of interest in Japanese culture. This isn't even about like if you're technically Japanese, like it's to a point that I don't even think the people who call weeaboos what they are even understand what it is anymore. And so it almost feels like whenever we're called weeaboo, even when we define it so clearly, it's as if like we're not even allowed to have these passions or aspirations to learn about Japan unless we're a master at it. We have to be this 100% citizen of Japan that lives in Japan, born and raised there, whether we like anime or not, in order to avoid that kind of controversy, which it's very, very frustrating. And the definition is not concrete anymore, which unfortunately it technically is, but socially wise on the internet, it's not concrete.
It actually feels on the same insult level of autism, and I hate to drudge that back up, but I mean, it's just a thrown around word. But it's something we wanted to talk about regardless. I mean, for crying out loud, you did a video about weeaboos, which is kind of like just a gigantic middle finger. But it's funny because when I originally conceived of this video, I found your content by looking for pictures of stereotypical weeaboos, and there weren't any. That was the most hilariously stupid thing, and I found your thumbnail. I'm like, I should give this girl a watch, and everything was right. Like, it just blew my mind. So both of us just kind of want to explore in a little bit less of a ragey way what this definition is and kind of our experience with it, which has always been a lot of fun. So it's interesting because I get called weeaboo all the time outside of the context of anime, manga, and the otaku community in general. Like, my big Japan story is I fell in love with video games and anime, which did evolve into a cultural desire to understand the fundamentals of a society that is so opposite of my own. I became fascinated with the contemporary art, like ukiyo-e, bunraku no, kabuki, rakugo. I became fascinated with their folklore. They've got freaking 8 million gods and even more stories involving them. Like, one of my favorite animes of all time, which most people wouldn't even classify as an anime, is Nippon no Mukashi Banashi. And if you've ever heard of that, be proud, because I promise you the majority of people throwing around the word of weeaboo do not know. I became interested in their traditional games like Koi Koi, which I'm doing multiple videos about. I became interested in their instruments. I played taiko for like 6 months, and I loved it, and I wish I could do more. I wanted to live there and teach people who were interested in a world that they were told they shouldn't or even couldn't understand, i.e. the rest of the world. And it just blew my mind. And it's like, I'm not even really one that's super attracted to anime. It's like, I really don't like moe, which is the whole topic of the other video that we did together. Yeah. Like, I respect the ever-loving crap out of One Piece, Attack on Titan, and Kill la Kill, and a lot of other popular shows. But I just am not that big a fan of one. Like, my top 5 anime, with no particular order, are Rurouni Kenshin, Samurai 7, Azumanga Daioh, Oshiete Gakuko-chan, really like that one, and Genshiken. And if you know all of those, congratulations, because those are really obscure.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And, I mean, even that being said, it's just like, for me, I am openly admitted to saying that I'm just an anime casual, meaning that I would like to think I was not an elitist because even though I make anime analysis, I explain it in such a way where it's just kind of, it's so simple, and I feel like I'm not even pushing it in anyone's face. I'm just an anime channel, and when you come to an anime channel, you get exactly what you came for, and yet, you know, and I'm showing my interest in anime, and I share that passion with, you know, people, but it's as if, like, I can't do that without being called a weeaboo. And as I said before, if you're not Japanese, then you will be called a weeaboo whether you like anime or whether you just like Japanese culture, or even a mix of the both, which I can only imagine the kind of the kind of crap that they get on the internet for especially for those who are aspiring to live in Japan, who surround themselves right now studying Japan and, you know, watching anime and just really appreciating this culture. There's another YouTuber that Joey and I know, whose name is Einstein, who I actually found out recently who is just half Japanese, but even then he has a very thick Japanese accent, and he lives in Japan, and he was born in Japan. Like, you wouldn't know he was half Japanese unless he told you, honestly, from my opinion. And even then, the only thing that he does is just share his love for anime, and he just does all these, like, fun activities that surround itself with anime. And constantly, just like Joey and I, and just like almost any other anime channel or any Japanese culture channel, we will always be called weeaboos. And it's to a point where it's so frustrating, we just decided not to even try and define it anymore, because there's nothing else that we feel like we can say. We feel like on the internet socially that it's already engraved that weeaboo is kind of almost like just a slang term just to slap onto anyone that doesn't like anime, especially if you don't like anime.
Yeah.
If you don't like anime and you do not like the community of people that like Japanese culture and anime, if you find if that's very alien to you, those people tend to throw out the word weeaboo at, like, without even knowing the correct context, and even if they do, they don't care.
No. And that's the thing too, is like when we both started talking about putting this video together, we just kind of looked at each other and be like, it's not gonna matter. The comments, go ahead and fill the comment section full of you are weeaboo, kappa face, whatever.
Weeaboo trash.
We kind of don't care, because by just blurting that out, you don't matter. Like, and that's the thing. I don't mean to attack anyone here. I would attack haters if I had the opportunity, but here's the thing. A lot of people ask why I chose the name Gaijin Goombah. I chose that name because to them, to Japan, I will always be Gaijin. It is my brand to their culture. No matter how much I understand them, no matter how much I try to integrate with them, I will never be accepted to them, by and large, as an equal. In fact, the greatest compliment I ever received from anyone in Japan, it actually came from the math teacher at the school that I worked at, Tani Sensei. This was at Kimono Koko, Kimono High School. Look it up if you think I'm lying. It's real. And I remember I was working on just my little laptop that had no disk drive. And he was talking about it, and I said, what did I say? It was like, Totemo benri na dakedo, shoto fuben na. CD drive ga inai desu kara. Or, not inai, just nine dakara. And he stopped, and he looked at me, and it was just this weird quietness. And then he said, Nihonjin mitai. And for those of you that don't speak Japanese, that means, it literally means you look Japanese. But in the context of it, it's like he was telling me that I was one with their society. I understood their society. Wow. I've worked my ass off to under that 14 years to understand their society and to be ready to live in it, because I loved it beyond popular culture into contemporary culture and contemporary art, and you can't take that away from me. I don't care how many times you call me a weeaboo, I don't care how many stupid comments you ever make, they themselves told me I was adept. So you all go screw yourselves.
Essentially, to put it bluntly. No, like that's an awesome story. Like, you know, to still be called a weeaboo, but to have that moment of someone from that culture, and this can be said with any culture, when you've tried so hard to fit into a culture, and just having that moment where you felt like you were part of them, you know, I think that's also kind of like it helps to just cope with being called weeaboo a little bit, because, you know, it's very frustrating to there's really no point in explaining this anymore of what it is, but that's a great story of like a great experience for you, and I can only imagine, like, you know, would you think that that's like a kind of your escape from when you're called a weeaboo, or are you just so desensitized to the word that
at this point I'm just really desensitized to the word, because no one's gonna come up to me on a con and dare call me that.
Right.
Because I will put you in the metaphorical ground.
Metaphorical ground.
It's like, okay, so you know how people are like, I spent 12 years in doctor college, and you don't call me Mr., you call me Doctor. I didn't go to school for 12 years for you to call me Mr. I'm the same way. I didn't spend 14 freaking years of my life to understand these people out of a love and a desire to not only teach them, but teach all of you about them, because it's even to this day, it's still kind of a big thing. I understand that Korea is really, really poppy right now, but regardless, it's like, I guess it doesn't matter because I don't care anymore, But it's like, whenever in the past, it's like, when people called me weeaboo, it was such a huge insult to me. Because it's like, weeaboos are the people that I strive to never be. Because they are blindly accepting of things. I say a lot of positive things about Japan, but I also say a lot of negative things about Japan, and I think a lot more negative things about Japan because I freaking lived there for years. I know what it's like. Go to Japan in August. There's 100 things about that experience you're gonna hate.
Yeah.
But I've earned it.
Right.
And like we've both already said, it doesn't matter because people are going to be doing it anyway. But I just don't care. Your argument is invalid, and I just don't care.
Yeah, and that's where, like, I think that, like, I could pretty much end it with just saying, like, you know, it's unfortunate to say, but we can't say that we didn't try, that people haven't tried to explain what this was. But I feel like now it's already just engraved as a slang term that unfortunately has been. Well, first off, just where it derived from doesn't even make any sense, let alone even today, you know, it doesn't make any sense. So
it came from a comic that had nothing to do with Japan or anime or anything.
Exactly, yeah. It came from a comic that was completely irrelevant, and even to this day, you know, we gave it a definition, and even that didn't stick. So unfortunately, I feel like I think I can say that I know that the term weeaboo is now just a slang term that has been transformed into such an abusive definition and such a very ignorant kind of how should I put it? It's just really ignorant to just throw it out there without even knowing the context anymore. And this is oh, sorry, what?
No, I was just gonna say, it's like what I had mentioned earlier. It's basically the autism term for anyone who likes Japan. It's just that insensitive, that unfeeling, that unthinking. Yeah,
it's just an easy way to slap it onto anyone that likes anime, or like people will slap it on, like even fellow anime fans slap it on each other when they don't like the same anime. It's that thrown around, and it's that it's been transformed into just this really vague term. And so, you know, the only thing I can tell you is that if you're called a weeaboo, unfortunately, for now, you just have to understand that, like, as long as you know the term, as long as, like, you know, if you respect that culture, there is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to learn Japanese. There's nothing wrong with liking anime, wanting to embrace another culture, not even just Japan, because the term weeaboo is making it very almost discriminatory, saying that only Japanese people, full-blooded, that even live there, that were born there, that know it just naturally. It's like saying only those types of people are allowed to embrace their own culture. All Gaijins, anybody that is in any kind of interest in Japan, almost have no right to do it. It's as if, like, we're all assholes.
And it's funny because the Japanese are so into sharing their culture.
Exactly.
I got so many free lunches because I understood, like, freaking Osaka Ben, where instead of saying wakara nai, wakara hen, nandanen, it coming from my mouth is one of the most hilarious things to them, and not in a malicious way, but in a, oh my gosh, he gets it kind of way.
Right.
So it's like, if someone calls you, let's just close it with this. If someone calls you a weeaboo, pity them. Pity them, for they are too stupid to ever understand what it means to know something and love something beyond their backyard.
Right. Because it doesn't mean anything anymore. It never did mean anything, and, you know, it's pointless now. So, yeah.
Cool. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. So, Aki, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
I've got links to her channel, and I'm gonna put an annotation and a whole bunch of links in the video right now. Go watch our collaborative video that we did immediately after you close this down, because we're talking about Moe, and it's just as an intensive a conversation, and I promise you guys will really like it. So, Aki, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Alright, guys, and until next time, this is Gaijin Goombah signing out.
Bye-bye.